Hey everyone, Deneen here, and welcome to December Daily 2025 story number 1. And I always start out my December Daily, or at least I have been starting out my December Daily with my son's birthday, which is November 30th. So it's perfect because generally we get some photos and then I can start out my December with those pictures. I am doing something that I did in the Story Kid classroom this year in a smaller version. So this is kind of like a slider page that is going to appear to be just a regular page until you pull it to the right. And when you do, you're going to see that it expands to actually 3 different canvases. And so I am just kind of going to try to go really super slow through this because the first time I did it, now, let me just kind of rephrase this. When I did it in the Story Kit classroom, I did it in a really tiny size, which was and is the intent because I got this from someone I know who does make cards. So doing it in the tiny size was really easy. But as I was trying to expand it to do it in the size that would fit into my 4x6 album, the first time I did it, I made a lot of mistakes. So I re-recorded the portion of the video that I am actually creating the whole foundation page. And I'm going to try to go slow so that I can explain to you everything that I'm doing. And then if you have any questions, you can feel free to just leave a comment and ask me. I will do everything I can to help you because this is really, really a super fun page. So what I have on my desk here are 3 pieces of white cardstock. One is 11 by 6 1/4, and then these 2 other ones are the same size at 10 by 6 1/4. So the first one we're going to work with is the longer one, and we're going to use our score tool, whatever kind of score tool you have, and we are going to do some scoring on the larger piece of cardstock. So putting it in my score tool, I'm going to score across the bottom at a 1/2 inch. So I'm just going to go ahead and use my tool to score 1/2 inch. Then I'm going to turn it around and I am going to score at the 5 1/4 mark. And this is going to split in half what remains after we've scored the 1/2 inch. Okay, so you have 2 pieces that are 5 1/4 and then that little 1/2 inch. For the ones that are 10 inches, we are going to also score at a 1/2 inch at the bottom and then turn it around. And then we will go ahead and we are going to score at 4 3/4 of an inch. So you'll have 2 pieces that are 4 3/4 and then another piece that is the 1/2 inch that we scored. I'll do the same thing to this second 10-inch piece. And then again, once you are done, you will have 4 3/4, 4 3/4, and a 1/2 inch. So that is all the scoring that we are going to do. I'm going to begin with, again, the large one, and I'm going to just fold up on that 1/2 inch piece, and I'll use my score tool to kind of make a nice crisp bend there. You don't want to do it too hard. I'm not working with super heavy cardstock here, so, it's easy to, overscore sometimes if you're using thinner cardstock. Then I'm going to go ahead and fold it at the other score and make sure that they're lined up. So the goal here is to not really have anything sticking out. You want it to match. You want it to be lined up. And I'm just doing that here very slowly, kind of eyeballing it, looking to make sure that it is. We don't want any of that 1/2 inch to be sticking out, right? So I might have to push a little bit. You'll see I'm just kind of making sure. Again, if one of them is sticking out, you could trim it off. But if you're careful, you shouldn't really have any problems at all. So that is the first one. And what we are going to do now is open that back up. And with that 1/2 inch flap upwards, we are going to just put adhesive on there. Now you'll see me put down another piece of white cardstock just because you really need to make sure you get the adhesive right to the edge of this 1/2 inch piece. And you want to use a decent amount of adhesive because you want it to adhere together and you want it to be flush. You don't want pieces to be on the inside. You don't want anything to be kind of not attached together. So you want to use a generous amount of adhesive, whatever kind of adhesive you want. And then I just go ahead and I score that a little bit there. So that's the bigger one. All right, now we're going to work with one of the smaller ones. Same exact process. Fold up on that 1/2 inch piece. Give it a nice crisp score. And then again, folding up on the other score that you made. And folding it and again eyeballing it to make sure that you have a nice even score and that it is not crooked and nothing is sticking out. So I will do the same thing here to this one, open it back up with that little flap upwards. I'm going to put that other piece of cardstock down again, and then I am going to go ahead and generously apply my adhesive. I don't know if rolling adhesive was my best choice. Probably would have worked better with a liquid glue. Whatever you have, though, you can make it work. So a lot of adhesive there so that it's right to the edge of that 1/2 inch piece, and then fold it and cover that 1/2 inch piece with the other flap. Again, lining it up nicely so that it is nice and straight and even. So that's what you want. Even is the key word here, is have it be even. I got a little adhesive on the outside there, so I just used my little eraser. Now, this is where I want to go slow. So on the left is the big piece, on the right is the small piece. Left big, right small, okay? And we're going to use these strips. Now these strips are about 1/4 inch wide and 8.5 inches long. Okay, so what you're going to see me do here is just kind of think through what I'm showing you, right? Making sure I'm showing you the right and easiest way to do it. So right now, I'm kind of just trying it out, making sure that I'm doing the right thing. And then you'll see me pull it apart again, and then I'll explain to you what to do, okay? What I did the first time around was I did it backwards. So I'm just really super careful here that I'm not doing it backwards. So again, big piece on the left, small piece on the right, okay? So you're going to go ahead and get the big piece, and you're going to take that strip and you are going to thread it into the big piece. And you want to try to have equal distance on both sides, but if it's not 100% equal, I didn't do any measuring here. And then you're going to take the small piece and you are going to put it to the left, all right? And you are going to take your adhesive, and on the little piece of strip that is hanging out of the left side of that big piece, you're going to add some adhesive. I'm not sure here. I think I might have pulled another piece of cardstock out. You want to be generous, but you don't want to get adhesive all over any of the other pieces other than where you want it, because then it's not going to slide nicely. So that's how I do it. Okay, so there's the big piece, adhesive on the left tab. Slide it, there it is, okay? You're going to slide it into and bring it down so that they are connected with a little bit of breathing room between them, okay? You want some space so that when it does fold, that it is not tight, okay? And then you're going to go ahead and you're going to fold that small piece downward, okay? And you want to make sure that they're even. Again, I didn't do any measuring here, but there's that one tab sticking out there at the bottom now. So what do we do with that tab? We need to put adhesive on that tab as well. So again, I'm trying to be careful. The one thing that I didn't do on this first part was I should have bent that tab upward first, and I didn't. It's easier if before you put the adhesive on, you bend it. And you want to get it in between the front and the back of that small piece, okay? So this is probably where I realized that I probably should have bent that upward. It really does go a lot more smoothly if before you add the adhesive, you kind of crease it so that it folds nicely between the two pieces. And that's where I made the mistake here, but that's okay, because you'll see that I went ahead after I tried a little bit to get it in there, and I was thinking, geez, this is where I should have folded it. This is where I should have put a crease in it. I pull it back out again and I say, all right, I'm gonna bend it up a little bit very carefully so I don't get touch on anything. And you'll see once I bend it and put a nice crease in there, it goes in there a lot easier. So you're kind of bending it into the front and the back, getting it in there, putting it nice and flat, and now it is attached. And then put a little pressure on there once you're done so that it stays in place. And I'm fiddling there because I want to make sure it's straight. And again, if you fold it ahead of time, Deneen, you don't have that problem. Okay, so now you have them attached together, and this is how they slide. Okay, so now that strip has become a piece that keeps them together and allows them to slide. At this point, you can put patterned paper on that right smaller piece. The left piece is where the holes are going to go. I think I put the patterned paper on, I'm not really sure, but I'm not doing it now in this part of the video. But you'll see I do cover this, what is going to essentially be the middle piece, with patterned paper. So here is the second smaller piece, same thing. We're going to fold up the 1/2 inch flap there. We're going to score it nicely, turn it back over. We're going to fold it at the other score, and we are going to then make sure that they match nicely. And this is where we're going to want to make sure that everything is straight. Do some scoring. I love to have a nice crisp score. It kind of makes everything nice and flat, and everything seems to fit together better. Open it back up again, and I will use a different piece of spare cardstock, and I will generously add my adhesive on that 1/2 inch flap. Okay, so you're kind of protecting the other side when you put that cardstock there. Fold it, and then fold the other one on top of it, making sure it is straight. This one turned out much better than the first one. I think the more times I do it, the better I get at it, which is par for the course, right? Now, on the left is the big one, and then the smaller one, and now on the right, I put the next smaller one. Okay, so that's how they're going to lay together in the album, and we need another strip now. And I measured this because I wanted to make sure I was telling you the right thing, but yes, it is 8.5 inches long, and I think about anywhere between 1/2 and 3/4 of an inch is generally good. All right, so now let's go ahead slowly, making sure we're doing this right. We're going to take the 2 pieces attached, and through the smaller piece, right, this is the smaller piece, we're going to thread that strip. Just like last time, trying to be equal on both sides as best we can. Doesn't have to be perfect. Once we get it in there, we are going to go ahead and put adhesive on the left piece that is sticking out. And you'll see again, I turn it this way. It's easier for me to use adhesive when it's in this direction for me. And then I'm generously going to add adhesive to this little piece sticking out again. So that is going to slide into that small piece, the second small piece. You see, it's like a tube, right? We're going to slide it in there, and we're going to leave a little bit of room, right? We want some breathing room between those 2 pieces. Not a lot, just a little bit. We're going to adhere that. Make sure I saw a little bit more glue there, so I kind of rubbed that away. It's okay. Again, like I said, the adhesive isn't going to be that big of a deal. Just try not to get it everywhere. Again, I'm lining it up, making sure that I have a little bit of breathing room between those pieces there. And then I will go ahead and fold that second smaller piece over to the right where it meets the other tab that's sticking out. Okay, and again, this is where you're going to eyeball it. You're going to make sure it's level and even. This is where you should fold up that little tab, right? That little tab, the second one, fold it upwards first before you put adhesive on it, and give it a nice crease. It will definitely go inside between the front and the back much, much better if you do put that crease in there. You'll see I'm fiddling there again because I'm crazy sometimes. And I just keep checking over and over again. Is it straight? Is it straight? Is it straight? I need it to be straight. And there you go with that fold again. So this is the part that is going to have adhesive on it again. I'm going to, as it's folded upward, I am going to put another piece of cardstock behind it so I could be very generous with my adhesive. And I'm going to put the adhesive on there and then pull out that spare piece and then between the front and the back. So I kind of squeeze it a little bit. You'll see right there. Okay, between the front and the back, you want to slide that in. And you can see how much easier that went in once I folded it first. I have to yell at myself because sometimes I forget these things and it's like, really? I did this how many times and I still can't remember? And then you have 3 layers. Making sure, there's a little bit of adhesive here that kind of got in the way. So I'm just kind of moving it to make sure it's okay. And one of the things that I'm going to show you is that it's going to have holes punched in it, right? On the big piece, okay? The big piece. You're going to just, and I have this little 4x6 hole thing, right? So you saw me slide it out to the right. And again, it slides back in. And on the left is where you are going to put the hole. So I will lay my little template down there and I will use a pencil. I will mark 2 little circles there where I want my holes to go. And then I will use my We Are Memory Keepers hole punch to punch right through the front and the back, right? Right through the front and the back. And you're going to have your 2 holes. And then I'll show you how it's going to go into the album, because those 2 pieces that are going to slide toward the holes, they're going to hit your rings. And that's why we made them smaller, because we knew they were going to hit the rings of the album. And we knew that they were going to stick out too much if we didn't cut that inch off, right? So instead of it starting out as 11 inch, it started out as 10. And this is what I'll show you here. So putting it in your album, and then you see those slide in. They hit the holes, but yet they're not sticking out of your album. And then you can go ahead and you could open them up. Okay, and again, like I said, don't use super heavy cardstock. You're going to see here when I kind of switch over to the other part of the video that I actually already put some patterned paper on the middle piece. But you can do it before, you can do it after. It's fine. Either way, it's going to work. But you see how nice it slides? It's wonderful. And I'm really excited about this particular spread. So here we are. This is the patterned paper that I chose. You can see. I'm just kind of lining it up, making sure it's not sticking out. I already put the piece of patterned paper on the middle piece. And for reference, the patterned paper size for both of these pieces would be 6 1/4 by 4 and 4.75, right? And you're going to, or the middle one you can make a little shorter. I kind of filled the whole middle piece, even the part that's tucked under the last piece, if that makes any sense. But again, you'll see after you put the pattern paper on, you kind of have to wiggle it around a little bit, make sure that your pattern paper isn't in the way of any of the movement. You might have to do a little trimming from the top or the bottom. Either way, you just kind of fiddle with it a little bit and make sure that it opens and closes smoothly. So right now I have that first piece, which is right by the holes, and I created a photo collage that is going to go on there. And for the middle, this is from the 3x8 transparency and insert, and I cut it down. So this was 3x8. It was 3.75 by 8 1/4, and now it is 3.75 by 6. And then one of the photo frames, and I'm not sure if that was from the main kit or from the frame pack. I don't remember, but that's going to go on the first page. Under that is going to be this little piece of white cardstock that says Happy Birthday, Ryan. And I just kind of printed it out, and now I'm just figuring out how to adhere that on top so that Happy Birthday, Ryan is at the bottom, and I'm going to put this die cut candle above it. And so this is something I got from the Silhouette store ages ago. It was just a series of candles. So I just kind of cut it out, and I cut the flame out, and that is going to go on top there. So I'm just, right now I'm just seeing, where do I want to adhere the frame on that white cardstock so that Happy Birthday, Ryan and the candle are nice and even in the middle of the frame. So that's what I'm thinking about now as I'm doing this. But first we need to adhere the top piece to the bottom piece. I did the top part with the, I guess you can say the holes or the cutout stripes. I did that in red, and then I cut out another piece of the candle blank in green so that it looked and appeared to be a red candle with green stripes. And so again, if you're interested, I'm not sure if it's still in the Silhouette store, but I'm sure they have other candles because they have so much stuff in there. So here we are, making sure this is looking nice and even in the middle, and then knowing where we want to put the flame, a little bit higher maybe, but not adhering it just yet, just kind of thinking it through at this point, and hoping that without measuring I can do this and it won't get messed up. So this is where I pull out this really cute light that I got from a company called Pear Blossom, and I bought it a couple of years ago and I never used it. So there's 3 in a pack, and these are just little things that you put a battery into. They do supply the batteries for you. Ooh, you can see there that I didn't realize how bright it was when I was recording, and I keep clicking it. But when you press on it, it is going to have a light that is going to kind of light up that candle flame. And so the whole goal is to put this behind the frame and behind that little die cut flame so that you can make it appear as though it lights up. So here I'm just kind of thinking through what's the best way to do this. And I end up holding my frame in place, making sure I'm happy with the placement, taking away the little die cut flame and marking it with a pencil so that I know, because I'm going to cut, or not cut, but punch a little hole so that the light shines through the cardstock. And that's where I'm going to pull out this tried and true old tool that we used for eyelets back in the day, and my little hammer. And I'm just going to go ahead and use the hammer. I don't even know what this tool is called. If I thought about it long enough, I'm sure I would remember. But in any event, I'm going to hammer, and I am going to make a hole, and that is where the light is going to shine through. But it will be covered with the die cut flame. Okay, so it's going to go underneath, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make it so that it is actually stuck to the base page, because originally I thought, oh, I'll tape it to the back of this, but then I realized that that just wasn't going to work very well. It wasn't the best idea, and I thought, okay, it needs to be steady and it needs to be adhered to the base. It needs to be adhered to the base. So what I ended up doing after I get done fiddling here and thinking about how the best way is to do this, honestly, I should have watched the video. I'm sure they have tons of videos on how to do this, and I'm sure there's a great number of artists that they have that would give us tips on how to do this, but I didn't watch the video, so that's my fault. But that's okay. I'm good with that. I realize here that this is just not the way to go. Cut out the part where I continued to play and waste time, and I am now just going to go ahead and adhere the frame over the white cardstock where I want it to be, which is what I should have done from the beginning. So this is me wasting just so much time. I don't know. I have no excuse. I think sometimes I'm just a little overwhelmed with life in general, and that happens. So this is what you should do. So mark your page, punch the hole, put adhesive on the back of the frame, and then line it up and adhere the frame to the white cardstock. And make sure it's nice and even. Okay, so that's what I should have done from the get-go. And now I'm going to take that, I'm going to line it up where I want it to lie. And I am going to take my pencil and I'm going to just move the pencil in that little hole that I punched and make a mark where the light needs to lie on the background. Okay, so right now I'm just putting the candle on. Just putting the candle in its place and putting the flame over the top of the hole. And again, sitting there thinking, is this the right thing? Is this the right thing? But it was, so we're good. And I actually just laid that on there, that flame. I did not push it down very hard because I want to use the hole to make the pencil mark, but I was being really cautious there, making sure that I was putting the frame exactly where I want it to be. So you'll see me just slowly eventually get to the point where I'm finally happy with where I have everything. My original thought here was to mark the sides and use my pencil, and you'll see I start doing that, and that's when I realized, yeah, that's not even, Deneen, come on, get with it. Mark the hole. Mark the hole already. So I did. And that is where I know, with that hole, where I need to place that light. And so then I can just go ahead and I could put adhesive on the back side of the light, which is flat, which is great. And then just make sure the light is over that little pencil mark. And now when I put the frame on, you're going to notice that it is going to be right over the light. And when you press it, your light will shine through the hole. But there is going to be that little flame on top. So let's get that back on there now. And now we have it exactly how I want to. So I'm going to go a little faster now because that was kind of something I wanted to take some time and explain. But now it's basically just going to be getting some, I think this is some double-sided foam tape. I'm going to put that on the back because I don't want it to be bulky. It's not the thickest foam tape in the world, so it doesn't really add a lot of bulk, but I put it on the sides and then I put that over the light. And so now it is not bulky or uneven with that little light underneath. And there you have that first part that pulls out. In the middle is going to go this piece that I cut down, and I did leave a little room above the journaling because I knew I wanted to put one of these scallops. I'm picking a color now. I think I end up going with like that yellowish or brown. I think it was like the tan. Yeah, there you go. I choose the tan. Add a little adhesive on there and then cut off what is hanging off the edge. And so this is going to line up with the frame that is on the top piece, and the middle piece is going to have this. You have to make sure you really adhere it down again very well because that first piece with the candle is going to slide over this. So I'm using score tape right to the edge so that there's no paper sticking up, that it lies nice and flat. And I'm going to put some pressure there and then make sure that the top slides over. And it does. I had a little bit of a problem there, but again, if you work them out, take your time, you should be fine. Go ahead and do the same exact thing to the photo collage, score tape right to the edge, right to the edge. You want to make sure that that edge has adhesive on it completely because that's the edge that the middle piece is going to slide over. And you don't want anything sticking up and getting in the way of that whole sliding process. And that is why I used score tape right up against the edge, and it worked out really, really well. Actually worked out better than I thought it would. I really was thinking that as I was putting this together that I was going to have more problems with the sliding mechanism, but I took my time and it ended up working out really, really well. So that is the edge with the scored tape. That's the edge that's going to go toward the middle piece. I'm going to lay that down very carefully, and then I'm going to put pressure to make sure the scored tape adheres the collage very, very nicely to that background. And that will make sure that that middle piece can slide over the photo collage and the collage isn't going to get in the way. And for the remainder of the collage, I'm just going to put regular rolling adhesive because once it gets past that edge, there's no problems at all. There's nothing to worry about after that. And so that is everything together, sliding in, sliding out. And let's take a look at what it appears to be in my album. And this is how I paired it with a full page photo, which is actually, again, 5 inches by 6 1/4. I added a tag that says celebrate and a puffy red star. And then you can see on the right-hand side that I did add some embellishments hanging there. I felt like I needed to have something fancy over there. So I just took a piece of red and white twine. I poked a hole through a plastic star. I poked a hole through the circle chipboard number 1, and then I used a die cut label and I stamped Press Me on there. I strung all of those onto the twine. I punched a hole in the frame, and then I ran the twine through the hole and then up around the top, and then I tied it in a little knot. And that indicates to the viewer that somewhere there is something to press. And when they do press that, they're going to see that little flame light up. So I added that afterwards. I finished my video and then I thought, geez, this is kind of plain. Where's my number? And I kind of just figured it would be fun to add some dangling things there. So let's go ahead and see what it looks like when it is pulled out. And here are all three of the layers in one picture. The first layer with the photo collage, I added a little tab, a red tab to the side there. I wanted to make sure I brought a little bit of red onto that collage because there wasn't any color. And then on the right side, you can see that I added another tab sticker that says celebrate to that third layer so that the viewer knows that it is something that you would pull in order to be able to see more of the story, which is something that I always do. And for some reason, when I was doing the recording of my process, I just didn't even think about it. But it's done and we are all good. And then last but not least, we have the photo where I am pressing and it is lighting up. And you could see it's lit up, obviously, but it looks so much nicer if there's not as much bright light around. It glows so nicely right through that little yellow flame, and it looks absolutely fantastic. So I hope you guys give this a try. There is no template. There is nothing that you need to do other than grab some cardstock and just try it, right? And, again, it's just a trial and error, but I promise you that you can do this. This is definitely something that you can do, and I think it would be fun if you gave it a shot. But if you do and you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below, and hopefully we will see you guys in my next video.